Working the ninth step in SAA. Step 9 is where willingness becomes action. This is where I begin to live differently, not just think differently. The best way to get started working Step 9 is to read about it in SAA's basic text, Sex Addicts Anonymous, often called the Green Book. I can access it online by searching for SAA Green Book Online. Step 9 guidance begins on page 49. Step 9 reads, "Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others." In Step 8, I made my list and became willing. Now, in Step 9, I begin to act on that willingness. This step is not about easing my guilt. It is about taking responsibility for harm I caused. If making an amends would injure someone or cause further harm, I pause and seek guidance. Responsibility and care go together. Before I make a direct amends, I write out what I plan to say, including how I will begin. Getting started is often the hardest part. Writing helps me stay focused and humble. In writing, I clearly state what I did, how I believed I harmed this person, without excuses, without defending, without but. Writing shows me whether I am truly taking responsibility. Before I speak to the person, I review my written amends. This happens before I present it. I share it with my sponsor, my therapist, and maybe trusted friends in the program. They may help me identify where I'm justifying my behavior, where I'm minimizing, where I'm focused on my addiction or my feelings, where I'm not clearly naming the harm. Sometimes I think I'm being humble, and they gently show me where I'm not. This review protects me, it protects the other person, and it protects the integrity of the amends. Only after this review do I move forward. If I'm not willing to review it first, I may not be ready to give it. If possible, I schedule a time and place. I might say, "I'd like to talk with you about something important to me. Would you be willing to set aside some time?" The setting matters. Private, calm, not rushed, not during conflict. Just as we discussed in Step 8, amends may happen in person, by phone or video, by mailed letter, or through an unmailed letter. The goal is honesty and responsibility, without causing new harm. The most important part to prepare is the beginning. I might say something like, "I'm involved in a process of spiritual introspection that involves cleaning up certain areas of my life. I've hurt people, and I'm trying to right those wrongs. I know I harmed you, and I want to take responsibility for my part." But each of us uses words that seem natural to us. I clearly state how I believe I harmed them, without excuses or explanation. I acknowledge, I can only see this from my perspective. I may have missed things. And then I say something like, "Would you be willing to share how this affected you? I really want to understand." From that point on, it becomes a conversation. When they begin to speak, my role changes. I listen. I do not interrupt. I do not correct. I do not explain myself. I do not defend, even if what I hear is painful. If I feel defensive, I breathe. I remind myself why I am here. This is about repair, not reputation. At some point in the conversation, I may ask, "What can I do to help make this right?" But I do not force that moment. Sometimes living differently is the answer. As we discussed in Step 8, there are different kinds of amends. Some can happen now, those that can happen once I can maintain sobriety. Some require partial disclosure, where full details could cause further harm. Some must be deferred, when timing or circumstances are not safe. Some may never be direct, where contact is not possible and living differently becomes the amends. I also remember something important. I may not begin with the hardest amends. The biggest, most painful ones, my boulders, may not be the first conversations I have. Instead, I may begin with pebbles. Safer amends, lower intensity, people where I can practice humility and listening. As I gain experience and confidence, I become more prepared to face the larger amends. Step 9 is not about proving courage. It is about building it. Step 9 is thoughtful responsibility, not reckless honesty. Sometimes the most powerful amends is not what I say, but how I live afterward. Consistency, transparency, sobriety, reliability. Living differently rebuilds trust. Step 9 is not a one-time conversation. It is a new way of being. After making an amends, I take time to reflect. What happened? What did I feel? What did I learn? I share my experience with my sponsor, my therapist, friends in the program. They help me process what came up. Sharing my experience may also help someone else in the program prepare for their own amends. My willingness becomes service. I do not have to fix my whole life at once. I do not have to start with the hardest amends. Sometimes I begin with pebbles, smaller conversations where I can practice humility and listening. As I grow stronger, I become ready for the larger ones. This step is not about proving courage. It is about building it. I am responsible for honesty and care, not for how someone responds. Each amends strengthens my integrity. Each honest conversation deepens humility. Each small step prepares me for the next. Remember, you can do this. It works if you work it, because you're worth it. Hooah!